Hello, hello. It's Blue coming to you live from the Burj Khalifa. And today's video is one introducing a brand new series for all three of my fans out there, which is Get to Know a Team. Basically, it's a side variation of the community chat series, but focused more on the teams of Altered. Whether they are winning competitive tournaments, making content for us to view, or creating their own events for everyone to participate in, teams within Altered and the TCG space are an integral part of the community we all know and love. Today, we will talk to the Altered Quarantine Zone team, also known as AQZ. This group of folks has some well known names that you may have heard of, and we will get to talk to them about how the team started, how they do so well in online events, and everything else they have planned for the future. Be sure to let me know in the comments if you like this new series, and let's go talk to the team in the quarantine tower. Hello to you all, and we will just get right into it. First, let's start off with an introduction of yourself and what have you been involved in as far as past experiences with TCGs, and specifically, have you been part of a team prior to the Altered TCG? Pandy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so as you said, my name is Pandy, and my experience with like Cabo TCGs was first of all, I've started with Magic. I would say like everybody starts with Magic at some point. Then after Magic, I was continuing playing Lorcana and the card game from Disney. And afterwards, I jumped a little bit through Pokemon, a little bit through Yu-Gi-Oh, but was mainly sticking on Pokemon. And after Pokemon, I've started to play Outright when it released here in our country.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
and
And yeah, as far as
oh yeah,
teams,
team experience. I was forgetting it. So actually, if it's specific to Outright, then AQC is like my first team. And I would say like my team that I will stick forever for sure. And there
yes.
before, I was like in a couple of like esport teams for League of Legends, but not like anything TCG related. Yeah.
Nice. Keelan, what do you got for me?
Yeah, I'm Killon guy. I also, just like Pandy mentioned, I was a Magic player before starting with Altered. Honestly, I had been largely out of the more competitive side of Magic for many years there, or a couple of years, especially post COVID times, before picking up Altered. Maybe I was looking for an excuse to get out of Magic and into something else, but honestly, I had tried other card games, just nothing stuck with me the way Altered did. Like within 20 minutes of sitting down and starting with the starter decks, I was completely hooked from then. And honestly, I haven't like looked at anything Magic related ever since. So that's been kind of cool. But some of you will know my our teammate here in AQZ Freeloader. Him and I were both part of like a local team, we'll say, in Switzerland. Ended up being more of a friend group in general. Like we get together every year and do like holiday fondue, cheese fondue, of course, because Switzerland, as I mentioned. But yeah, that's more of like a friendly group. I think I've gotten most of that group into Altered now at this point, but other than Freeloader and I don't think the rest are anywhere near as invested. So that would be it, I would say.
Gotcha. Pluka?
Yeah, I've played card games for like 10 years. I've played similar, almost everything that popular. So Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, lesser known but still popular like Vanguard, and really anything that someone at the card shop is playing. Yeah, that's tried them all. Found Altered on Kickstarter, and then been playing that since.
About yourself. Nice. And so
Um, from a card game perspective, yes, I haven't joined a team for a card game, but I've dabbled in other like competitive gaming that I've joined teams for before. But this is the first for this.
Oh, that's interesting. What competitive gaming have you gotten into outside of card gaming?
Um, I was into League of Legends for a while, playing on some teams. Then after that, I think I started playing Overwatch and was joining teams and competing in tournaments for that. But yeah, for card games, I've had like groups that I played with friends, but nothing as organized.
Got it. Yeah, that's interesting. As far as I've seen quite a few people within Altered that have been involved in some esports in general too, or at least some capacity. So it's fun to get to see that. And then,
general.
as far as the team itself, tell me how and when did your involvement with the Altered Quarantine Zone, also known as AQZ, did start, and why were you interested in joining or creating a team of your own rather than becoming involved with any of the other number of teams that already had been developed at the time? Pandy?
Oh yeah, so when did it start? So I would say it was like starting earlier this year that I was asking Kian about if he wants to create like a team because I saw like more and more team text throughout the cast that I did for several tournaments. I was like, oh man, it's an amazing idea that like teams be there and people like sticking together. And I was like, hey, do you want to create like a team? Maybe I have also like some people that wants to do it. And then actually Keenan was telling me we have kind of somehow a team. It's like not that active, but you can join in and we can make it active again.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. So who is in there? And then he was telling me that, of course, like Keelan himself is being part of the team. Then it was like Freeloader and also like Blogger that I know. And I was like, wait, this Blogger is in the team? Yeah, sure, I can join in. And then I started to come in there. And the reason that I didn't want to have like another team was just like simply because I only saw like the big French teams being around for those tournaments. And it was just like, first of all, was like the language barrier because I was like, I don't know like any French, so it would be little bit hard. And all of them looked like really like as pro players or wanted to be like competitive, and I didn't want to be like a full competitive team that I want to join in. Yeah, so that's why I decided to ask Kiran, and he said, "Hey, join AQC," and now I'm a member of it.
Yeah, and Keelan, to you now.
Yeah, it must have been so at some point dived into altered competitive, was trying to play like traced and other decks at least to start with, and then quickly picked up on the fact that one, I love the competitive game a ton, and two, that traced loses always to Waru, and the undisputed best Waru player who I had just made a YouTube video about how good their Waru was specifically was Pluka. And so at some point, I ended up losing to him in the finals of an Ace event when I then just picked up the deck as well. The next day, I won the AWOL weekly for while playing Waru as well, and then from there had a chat in the background on Discord with Pluka open, and at some point I was like, "Hey, would you be interested in setting up like a little testing team? Just nothing super formal. Just people that we trust who won't like leak a bunch of information out to external people about what we're putting together." And he was like, "Yeah, that sounds good." And then that was pretty much the end of the conversation. From there, yeah, we started up a little group. He brought in a couple of his local people that he knows and trusts, especially at least playing more recently that we see sometimes in these events. That's like people like AQZ Ryan. And then I brought in Freeloader as well, given that he lives 5 minutes away from me. I know where he lives, so if he steals our cards, I know who to hunt down in real life. But otherwise, no, Freeloader at the time was like I think one of the best Fen players on the ladder, so that was immediately the claim to fame there at that point. And yeah, I think overall it was starting off with this, just little group, unofficial testing, secret information, that sort of thing. There was no team tag at that point. Um, Pluka had zero preferences about anything as far as like name of it. He's like, no, you do that. I'm terrible at all these things. So I was racking my mind, like, what should we do for any of this? And I was just coming up with like name ideas on the basis of trying to hide hidden information, testing information, and yeah, I just came up with quarantine zone, put the altered in front of it because it is altered related, and yeah, went from there.
Pluka, let's go ahead and start with you.
Alright, so I guess me and Kellan made the team. I guess back when AWOL was starting up and the Ace tournament series, we were both competing in those, and I think we just met each other from playing in rounds, and I saw his YouTube content, whatever. We talked a little bit, uh, and then he reached out to me and wanted to ask if I wanted to start a testing group, and yeah, of course I did. I didn't really talk to any of the other teams. I wasn't against any of them. Just never really met them online or started too much conversation. So uh, yeah, when he reached out and was asking about wanting to start a team like testing group, just I was interested.
Nice. And so, expanding on that a little bit, was so it really wasn't something that you were particularly interested in at the time, and it just kind of came about because of the AWOL starting and just more competitive things
Mm,
online, and Keelan reaching out to you. Had you viewed any of the other teams or something? Was that something that you were interested in the future based off of your
uh,
interest in Altered?
yeah, I saw all the teams popping up and was slightly interested. I never was going to. I don't. I can't say I was never going to message somebody for it, but at the time when he messaged me, I wasn't really thinking about that yet. But then I really liked Kellen, so when he reached out to me and wanted to do that, I was like, oh well, I don't know any of these other people really, and now that he mentions it, that is something that I'd be interested in having like a group that we can test for and try to get better. And yeah, then with didn't much rather would start it with someone I know that I like than just strangers, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially with the general online community that we have at the moment, especially if you don't have your own local setup. You could always set up your own local playtest teams, but it seems like there's a good amount of teams, quote unquote, for Altered that allow for online setups, including with AQZ, for example. So sounds good. And then I know you mentioned a few of the folks already when you guys are talking about how you got involved, but other than yourselves, who else is a part of Team AQZ and what might they be best known for, either within the team or within the altered community as a whole? Pandy, you can name off a few people if you want, if you remember them all. Or
Yeah, so I remember one person I would always remember because I asked if he could like join us the team. It's Runefolk, and Derryford was like he's known for being like a competitive player, playing in some like renowned tournaments, also getting like really good results, and also started to be like a caster. I would say like this month, like the month before already. So I would say he's known for that. And with Runefolk, we also got Void in there, and he's just like playing competitive. Yeah, for us.
Runefolk also known for keeping you in games the entire time limit, in order to make sure that you get as salty as
I
possible.
didn't want to mention that, but thanks.
No, it's true. It was especially funny at the point when Pandy had been mentioning that Rune would be a good addition because like I think about a day or two before that, Freeloader had been talking to me personally, like in person here, being like, "Hey, it would be cool to maybe add in like Rune Folk. He's like really creative with the decks and everything." So I think one of the things that's been funny about putting together a team like this that like we don't have a hierarchy. Like I'm not the leader of the team. Pluka's not the leader of the team. We don't have a team leader. It's just a group of people sitting in our quarantine tower, as the lore goes. Um, is that we don't really have a dedicated process for how to handle this. So I don't know. At the point then when Pandy mentioned like, hey, it would be cool to bring in Rune, I was like, yeah, if no one has any objections, like let's do this. It's a cool idea. But no, definitely. I think the team people who are most in the cooking area for the moment for the team are definitely Freeloader and Runefolk. As you mentioned, Void on the competitive end. Pluka, I think, fades in and out depending on how excited he is about his competitive possibilities. So I think he disappeared for a couple months there after the Waru nerf happened. But whenever he shows up, I'm like, oh, he's going to be the best player in this game on whatever he's doing every single time. But you never know when that will be exactly. His buddies are Granth and Ryan. Granth hasn't really shown up too much since he was a traced player early on into the game, at least. Ryan, bit more active. He's been playing Sigismar last that he's been playing most events from what I've seen.
Yeah, I can say the two. So there's two guys, Ryan and Grant, that are from my local scene. We are the local scene. There's only the three of us
Mhm.
here that play Altered. But those are the guys that I've like played every card game with really. But like I wouldn't call it a team necessarily in the past, but that was like the testing group for me for games.
And then otherwise, the person who we are missing is our most recent inclusion. That's Frenico Rico. Specifically, I realized at that point we didn't have anyone who was sort of a Muna expert. and had also just realized, I think it was after the Go for Altered event, that wow, his English is fantastic. He seems like a really cool, nice guy. I was like, hey, can we get him in? That would be cool. And so he was down to come hang out in the quarantine tower as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you guys have been, since that initial group that we talked about, trying to look for specific players within factions just for testing in general, or what's the idea behind that?
Mm,
I think in general, it's just people that we knew or liked, or like they don't have a team, and I think this is a strong player that can bring something to our group. But um, I th- I think maybe we started to think about that of like realizing what the group that we had formed just that way, like what we had and what decks we played and what we could test against, and then I think someone started thinking, I forget who, but someone was suggesting maybe we can look into some other people who are like top tier players, but of other factions that we can, so everyone can just get better at all the matchups and everything.
That makes sense. It seems like you have a good group in general as far as playing different factions, or at least having some flexibility to move to different factions overall. Pluka, you didn't even mention it in your introduction of yourself, but obviously the famous Waru player on the BGA ladders, having multiple um, accounts on BGA on the top there for a while, right? So now playing a little bit of a Faunus, am I
Hmm.
correctly? So.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool to get that stuff as far as different people to contribute and help with
Yeah,
playtesting.
that's again one of these things about us being more freeform. We don't require anyone to use a team tag or anything. We're not about that life. So actually his main concern going in was he really doesn't like the team tag thing in general, and wouldn't want to add that. And so that was his main concern. He was otherwise super down. And I told him, yeah, we have no requirements for anything like that. Do as you please. Come hang out. And from that point he was super interested.
Yeah, just have to make sure that he wears the jersey when you guys go to events later on, right? Right.
What do you mean the
Jer-
jersey? It's
jer-
the
jer-
wizard cloak. It's
yeah,
the
the wizard
wizard
yeah.
cloak.
cloak. Yeah.
My bad. Those might be a little bit more expensive to produce than jerseys, but
They're
anyway,
well worth it.
there we go. um, Getting on to a little bit more behind the lore of AQZ, you already went over a little bit as far as the name itself, but how did you come across, or how did the logo come about as far as AQZ?
Yeah, frankly, this was me using or abusing AI tools to start with, at least. The idea of the team name, there wasn't any specific inspiration outside of trying to hold forbidden knowledge to just reflecting that idea that we're not supposed to be outwardly sharing all of our testing data and information with the rest of the world. It is a more private testing group in that sense. So put together Quarantine Zone. I couldn't find anything better. I tried. I racked my mind for like 2 days, and I said, okay, this isn't worth any further thought. AQZ, it's cool enough. No other team has a Q and a Z in their name. That's really cool. So threw that together, and then from there, I was messed around with a little bit of AI art tools, and I was looking for something that involved like wizards who are holding knowledge, and then threw in the word quarantine, and ended up with something more similar to the image that you might see on some of our stuff at this point. But thanks to Ryan specifically, AQZ Ryan, he did a great job in editing that image and making it much more like a personal touch. And now it's a full-fledged thing. It's not just AI art. It's actually someone who's gone through it and made it look a lot better, a lot cleaner. And so yeah, that was largely his creative direction based off of the creativity of AI tools. Thanks.
Yeah, as far as like the actual name itself, I originally just interpreted it as like a bunch of you were online and you're from a bunch of different areas across EU and NA and everything like that, and you just didn't have a local scene to go to or something, and
Yep.
so you're quarantined off from the rest of the altered community or something. But
That's
oh,
true. That
yours
does
works out.
factor in a bit because virtually all of us have struggled on some level with finding local play at the level that we'd like to participate into it at least. And I think that's why most of us have found our way so often on BGA tournaments instead of local, just because sometimes the options haven't been there thus far. I think like Pandy Andy specifically has probably the best time actually engaging with the local scene at the moment, but I could be wrong there.
Any comment there, Pandy? Are you the local guy of the entire group?
I would I would say so. So I have like a local and also like a store owner that's completely like for the game and he's like full hard for the game. And we also like have two other stores that started to play. And sometimes I'm just like traveling to the stores and playing there. And we're also already considering about the championship for our regional. And so maybe I would say we have like the best organized local scene for now on. So so it's good for me. But there I'm just actually like a player that's like joining in, playing with the people, and then I can enjoy like playing most of the time. That's amazing. Yeah, I would say so. I don't know who it's like for Rune and for Void because they're also playing both on the same local, but I don't know how it is like on their region. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, speaking of online events and everything associated with that, a lot of teams within Altered compete and have like competition-based teams or have some other things that they're going on, or they're just involved in other areas as a whole. What are some things that AQZ does other than compete in Altered? Bandy, you want to start there?
Um, I would say beside the facts of actually competing like an auto road for tournaments and playing, we're doing like our own tournament series, the AQC Championship Series, and we're heading to the sixth week. And yeah, it will be hosted on every Thursday. We're also being partnered with the local shop where I'm like
Mhm.
playing. So being able to actually giving out the adventure pass and stuff like that. And I would say this is like the biggest thing right now that we're doing, right, Keelan? Or is there like something else that I don't know?
No, definitely. No, you're totally right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's I mean, that event is being incredibly successful at the moment.
yeah,
We hit the new record of players. I think it was like 120 this past Wednesday.
yeah.
So that's exciting to see. It's starting to hit AWOL numbers in some cases, which is really cool. But yeah, no, you're totally right. There's that. I think one of the things that's also maybe showing us off a little bit less often in these competitive tournaments as players with, good tournament results. I mean, we have those in a lot of cases, but it's the fact that I think more than any other group of people, probably outside of some of the French scene, like our members are in general very involved with commentary for events as well. Um, I personally commentate whenever I can, any tournament that I can. Pandy is very similar in that regard, but especially, of course, the things that he's hosting, he's always there for. Freeloader has even started along with that, and I think he's going to be hosting this week event that I'll be commentating in as well as the No Uniques Championship is going to start. Rune's gotten involved in commentary. So at this point, I think everyone's very involved in not just our own tournament commentary, but
Yeah.
commentary around the altered scene. So I would definitely say that. And then otherwise, less as a team organized thing, but I know we're trying to promote other channels behind the scenes. Actually, the team organized one there is mostly Pandy organized, but there is a team Instagram which is starting to begin, I guess, with the initial posts there, and
Oh.
Pandy's making some progress.
Yes.
But and then otherwise, I have my own YouTube channel, which, despite the fact that I am so bad at actually posting to it because I'm way too engaged in all of the other things that I try to do, I am scripting a fourth video for finally. So yeah, so I do try to be a content creator behind the scenes as well.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting as far as the tournament series is concerned. One of the unique things that I like about it is the boss battle setup that you all did. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Who thought about that and what brought that up in general?
I will fully hand this question over to Pandy Andy. He is the man here.
Oh yeah, I did it. It was my idea. So if I remember correct, we were like talking about like in general of like doing some tournament stuff, and I was coming up like to the team with the general idea of I want to host like a tournament, and I was like first of all was like wanted to host like in like my name for my stream or stuff like that, but instead was like, hey, we can do it as a team. And when I was like hearing all these stories that like Keelan wrote for our team with like the mages, the mysterious tower and stuff like that, I was like, hey, maybe we can also at some point doing like a storyline for our tournament. And so I was like, what is like a special event that everybody could like participate that's playing in the tournament, that not don't need to be like on the top 8 or top 16 spot, what also like have like a player that didn't like have the best results for the evening can do something. And then I was like, hey, maybe like a special fight between this person and to one of our team members, and he has the chance of winning it, then he can get like an additional prize pack or stuff like that. And so I'm happy that this idea came to like an actual thing in our tournament, and that my team is helping me a lot with it. Sometimes in winning, sometimes in losing my my money. We're always joking around it and like just like being there to rob me. But that was always like a case that I was like, oh, if I'm like hosting a tournament, I want to have like a special thing that's like that everybody can do, even if he's like not like a really competitive player and always like on the highest ladders. It's just like want to play casually and maybe getting like another chance of also just like winning something. Yeah. So that was like the idea behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really funny when Pandy really started with this idea, because we were all like, yeah, this is, cool concept or whatever, but we didn't really know what, maybe was too much or anything like that, or it's just different than what's been done with most other events, so we weren't really sure how that would work entirely, I think. But I think more than anything else, we were happy to help out or like join in with commentary for the stream behind the scenes, but otherwise it was a Pandy project. And so, especially for me, organizing events myself at that point, still for the KGB series, rather, I started seeing him posting about these events, and he had some cool text lines, little story behind it already. I was like, that's cool. Started bringing in graphics. I was like, that's cool. And then the very first day when we got to that boss battle, and Pandy had like boss battle music queued up, and suddenly there was just this vibe, I think, and I actually physically got chills like spectating it. It was so cool, and I really highly recommend that anyone who's able to check out, maybe watch a VOD if you don't think it's pretty cool. You can check out on twitch.tv/pandyandy. I'm sure it'll be linked somewhere there for you. Check it out. The boss battles thing, it's really really cool, and I think from that point we were all like, yeah, this is something that's worth doing for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more unique things that I had seen as far as tournaments are concerned, and I always thought it was a fun idea. So I was interested about hearing more about it. But yeah, I mean, we've kind of talked a little bit about this already, but since there are a variety of teams within the altered community at this point, and with more and more, it seems being created every event. I mean, Keelan knows this because he's collecting all of them, like Pokemon. But
True.
what makes AQZ unique from the others within the community, and what would you want the team to be known for as Altered grows? And this can be a question for both of you, as far as like your both personal ideas on this. Pandy, if you want to start.
Yeah, so as we're talking like a lot of this like with the tournament stuff, so I would say what is like not like unique, but like unique for our team is like that we don't just like focusing on like this competitive play and everybody is like being a competitive player. It's also like the case that we're actually starting to doing like this kind of tournament series, and also to additional of this wiki series that we're doing, there are like some other plans like behind. So as I'm always saying, like, so my personal dream is that we're hosting like a big offline event with 1,000 people that like playing. At some point, it's like the biggest goal that I want to have like with the series. And it's also like that we're just like providing like stuff like the tournaments, and it's also like that we're being around social media. It's like not only that we're like being on several casts there, it's also like that everyone like or some of our teammates personally wants to take like a focus on this social media stuff. And I would say this is like one of the unique things that like not every team is doing it like in this like big amount of like casting, playing, being there, doing this stream, doing that. So I would say this is something that is unique for us, right? Or like special, would you
Yeah,
say?
no,
Yeah,
I would definitely agree. But something
yeah,
I would also note is one of
yeah.
the things about bringing in a player like
Mm,
Pendy into the team
yeah.
specifically is really that brought in a diversity of perspectives and goals, I think, for a team. until then, it was largely like, yeah, testing team, competitive. Pluka wants to win Worlds if Worlds gets announced. I want to win Worlds if Worlds gets announced, or at least that was the goal at the point of creation of it. And then bringing in Pandy, it was very clear. Pandy views things a little bit differently. I think he sees that if Altered takes off the way that we hope and that it honestly deserves to as a game, he thinks that we can be at the forefront of it. Like we can be one of these legendary teams that gets sponsors and people know by name and that sort of thing. And I see the vision there, honestly. And that's I guess the thing that makes that different with potentially other teams is that there is sort of a diversity of perspectives there. It's not that we all have to be doing the same thing always, or that everyone is involved to the equal levels in everything. It is super freeform with that, but in general, if someone has something that they want to be doing in the team, they can expect that if they reach out to all of us, they'll find other people who are like, yeah, we'll help you with that. So I think that's probably what it's about.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to have the diversity set up in general, I think. I mean, there's some good teams out there that focus on one thing and
Mhm.
they're well known for it, but I don't think it's a bad thing to try some new things out and help each other out while you do that.
I
So,
think what makes us different is that we're not. Is that we want to do more than like just have players that are placing well. That is important, and we want like everyone to be doing well and they're competing. But I think we're also very focused on what can we do outside of just tournaments, like hosting a tournament series that we're doing, and if like you were saying, like some of the special events after that, and yeah, I think it's more like we want to do things with the community more than I think just solely be a competitive team known for. I mean, we want to be that too, but yeah, that's really yeah. I think that's what we want to be known for, just helping out, doing stuff.
so cool to hear that. And so, going into the last few things here, is AQZ actively looking to add more members to the quarantine tower? And how would someone become part of AQZ if they wanted to at some point? I mean, I know you guys often kick someone out every week for one reason or another because they deserve it. But
Yeah.
past that, if you guys want to comment on that, I'd appreciate it.
Sorry, I'm just gonna add context there before that little comment goes away. Yeah, we joke every stream whenever one of us gets commentator cursed, which is the classic, that if you lose on camera while your game's being featured, you're immediately kicked from the team. In which case, I would say I would have been kicked from the team like weekly, on a weekly basis at this point, because whenever I am on stream, I lose at this point. So yeah. So either, maybe I shouldn't be answering this question at all because I'm no longer even part of the team, or otherwise, maybe that doesn't actually hold. But otherwise, I'll let Pandy answer.
I mean, it's like I would say it's like a little bit simpler on our team. So basically, it's like if someone has like someone that she wants to recommend for the team and saying like, "Hey, he would be like a nice addition as a person for our team," then he's like asking, and then we're like, "Okay, he seems fine," so we're taking him. And also like maybe like to mention is like that is not always like be that you need to be like a big competitive player for Altred because there are like actually several people I didn't like wrote it in our Discord. I shouldn't start it that actually wants to work like for the tournament fully or just like helping me out with like the designs and new graphics and stuff like that. And I was also asking them if they don't want to become like of the team members so that they're like being fully in our team to understand how our team is like working and so also like how our tournaments or streams that we are doing are working. So I would say it's like not only focused on actually competitive players. Can I say that? Can I say that, Keenan? As Barbara Prince?
I mean,
Can I say
again,
this?
again, we don't have an authority system,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
So I think that's part of the thing. There is no
yeah,
dedicated process to
yes.
joining the thing.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think the way people have joined AQZ, it's not really like I don't think it's hard to answer because I don't feel like we've ever actively been recruiting people. I think it's you
Yeah.
just like have met people, liked them, thought they were good, thought they were uh, brought something either valuable, just like they're a good player, they're entertaining, they're just good for the space, like the team space, and then wanted to bring them in. I don't think we're never on a hunt for players. Just like saying like, okay, we really want to add another person. I don't think that's really been the case, but like, um, yeah, it's if we're friendly, if we believe that they would add something to the team, I think that's generally how it's gone so far. So I'd imagine that's how it continue to go in the future, but I can't speak for everyone's opinion on that. I don't know.
So basically, just vibes. Whoever you guys get along with the most, or who you think would uh, be the best part to add to AQZ in general. Sound about right?
Yeah, we've never had any conversations about like, oh, this player is placing well, so maybe we can like get them or something. That doesn't really happen. It's more just we know somebody. We're like, hey, we were talking to this guy the other day, and he's really cool, and he's good at the game, and like, let's see if he would want to join the team. So it's yeah, it's more of like that than like trying to go after certain players or anything.
Does everyone have to vote? You all have to say no or yes to everyone?
Oh yeah, we don't really have a. There's no like hierarchy
Uh,
in AQC. We're just kind of all the same. So when someone has a suggestion for a player, uh, it usually just gets thrown in the chat and just like, hey, anyone have anything? Like, is this okay? And then everyone usually like thumbs it
Thing.
up. And then
I think really until now the main concern has been that the person needs to be like they need to know what they're doing with Altered and
Yeah.
at least be at least it would be good if we were convinced that they're competitively able to reach the top ranks if they were really putting their effort into doing so. I think in general it's more the ability to do that rather than having gotten top place in 6 tournaments and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's no dedicated thing like that. But overall, I think it's about more than that. I think definitely at the end of the day, the trust thing is really key. For me personally, if I wasn't willing to lend one of my highest tier uniques to the person already, just and expect to get it back or whatever, I wouldn't be wanting to include them in the group already because sometimes it is cards that we're sharing, sometimes it's just information that we wouldn't like publicized yet of things that we're working on. So I think it's really about being trustworthy, probably more than anything else, but definitely being competitive and otherwise being a nice person, I think, are probably 2 big criteria there.
No assholes allowed. I'll bleep that out
Yeah.
out of
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
Um,
Basically. Basically.
that works out. But yeah, other than that, that's all I had for you guys. Any shout outs or things you would like to promote for yourselves or the team? Pandy, go for it.
Yeah, so again, we're doing a tournament if you like miss it out like the last couple seconds of your ad. It's free to join Board Games Arena every Thursday. We have enough space for it in our tower, so you can just like take the invitation. We have some cool pricings, and also you're being able to get progress in the adventure pass. It's also a nice thing to have, I would say. And if you want to watch this tournament, then you can just going to Twitch, typing in Pandy Andy, do a follow there, and then you can be part of our amazing journey. It's also like a journey for us, how it's increasing every stuff like that. And beside that fact, I want to promote our Instagram, but it's just like not that active yet. But if you're typing in Team Autorit Quarantine Zone and you find something to follow, then just do it, I guess, if you want to. And something else. Maybe Keelan, you can continue.
No, yeah, I would
I don't know what
definitely
else.
agree. I would definitely agree. Shout out to the Instagram that Pandy is working tirelessly on. I know he believe it or not, regardless of lack of content, he's been putting a lot of effort into that. Myself, I'm putting same deal, regardless of lack of content. I'm putting a
Yeah.
lot of effort into my YouTube as well. That's at Keelon Guy on YouTube. Otherwise, I'm always excited to be part of all of the other casts that we're a part of. So whether that's AWOL, you'll see both Pandy and I, as well as Blue, commentating on AWOL pretty regularly, whether that's Mondays or Thursdays. I'm sorry, I say Thursdays because it's Thursday morning my time. It's Wednesday night for the rest of you. But otherwise, yeah, all the tournament series, that's really cool. No unique championships. I don't know at the point at which this video comes out if it will already have taken place or not. But I'm involved with that, as is Freeloader from AQZ, which is really cool. Not on the organizational end, just on the streaming end. And otherwise, shout out to my grandmother, who is my biggest fan and likes watching my YouTube videos. So thanks, Mimi. Love you.
Shout out to all the grandmothers out there. I did a
Yeah.
Pluka?
No, same thing. Just please join our tournaments, and then I don't know. I know Andy's the one controlling the Instagram stuff. If that's up, then please follow. If it's not, then please wait until it's up and then follow.
Yeah, we'll put the link up there, or what it will be if it's not already up, for everyone to take a look when this video goes live. I appreciate it, guys, and other than that, we're gonna sign off, and I'll catch you later.
Thanks for having us, Blue.
Thank you.